DJ and PK, it's 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. We're joined by Jim Williams, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, boys. How you doing?
We are doing well this morning.
Hey, before we get started, one question. Which one of you guys did the covered high school sports in Los Angeles?
Me.
Patrick
Oh, okay.
Kinahan.
Did you ever go out and watch Mater Day play?
I don't think I did. No, I think that was a little south of where I was. I covered L.A. City schools.
Oh, okay, cool.
Modern days in Orange County.
Yeah.
Modern days in Orange County, and they basically used to be a pipeline. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yes, they have been known to be a football power. There's no question about that.
They've sent a few kids to USC.
Many.
Right. Jim, you had you were on social media yesterday, and you were talking about keep an eye out. Here's the post on Twitter, on X. Keep an eye out when MLB expands. Salt Lake City is quietly becoming one of the hottest sports towns in America. Sports Business Journal just vaulted Salt Lake from number 44 to number 12 nationally, ahead of some legacy markets on its best sports business cities list. You cite the Jazz, RSL, Olympic infrastructure, and an aggressive event strategy, which traces back to the Utah Sports Commission. So I'm curious, what has changed, or did the number just kind of catch up? Is that something you do every year? Has something changed in the last year? Or maybe sometimes the whole, the image catches up with reality at some point, and so that's why the big jump in numbers. What's driving that?
I think a lot of it, guys, is people are discovering Utah. I've been there many times, and you come back, you tell people what a wonderful time you had at Salt Lake, and I think that what's driving it is that look at the attendance. Look at the attendance at the Mammoth hockey games. The Jazz have always been strong. And then you've got, of course, Real Salt Lake, which you guys talked about earlier in the program. So I think it's really a matter of image. People are getting to understand that, Utah and specifically Salt Lake City is a hot sports market. There's numbers are numbers, whether you want to argue them or whatever. But I know a lot of people, think, well, gosh, Salt Lake, no baseball's down. Of course, there's no reason that can't be.
How do you think that affects the colleges as they want to continue to grow their brands?
It helps because, everybody, this is a really small business, okay? And at the end of the day, you want to be where you're going to be appreciated. And you can't do that if you don't look at it and say, okay, look, this is a fantastic up and growing market. What's it going to do? It's going to help the University of Utah. It's going to help BYU. It's going to help Utah State, Southern Utah. It's going to help the entire region.
I do wonder about colleges in the direct shadow of pro teams. Partly because I grew up in San Diego, and I saw what it did to San Diego State. I was literally home for the 98 World Series. The Padres are playing the Yankees, and that's the days when you have these huge special newspaper sections because they could make a ton of money. And San Diego State put an ad in it. And they're like, come see the game next week. And I'm like, well, you're you're doing the right thing. But the game they had to promote was, I think it was UTEP. And it's like, wow, the Yankees are here for the World Series. I'm pretty into it. Even I'm like, that's not much. But what are they supposed to do? That's who they were playing. And I just look at, Houston and Houston, it's better to be Texas and Austin. I look at Cincinnati, Xavier, Cleveland State. It's better to be Ohio State and Columbus. Right? Florida and Florida State. It's better to be in your small college towns than to be Miami in Miami, where unless they have a great team, it is really hard for them to draw 50,000 people. So is there a problem with being right in the backyard and too close together?
I would say different. It's a difference in baseball and football. If you're talking about professional NFL football, that's a whole different ballgame. But you're not. You're talking about baseball. Baseball's played for the most part when football isn't. And, unless you get into the postseason. So I really don't see, if you told me tomorrow that Salt Lake was going to get, an NFL franchise, then I'd have another different answer for you. But there's no correlation really in baseball versus college football or college basketball.
You had this piece also, too, on BYU and their ability to continue to grow as a brand. Could you go into detail on what that is about and how beneficial that is for them and maybe what it could mean down the road?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for many years, as you all know, BYU was independent. And there was a guy, a really good, smart programming guy, back when I started in this business when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And his name is Frank Carney. Now, Frank Carney was in charge of Western Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia. And he used to like to get, back in those days, you could get tape delay football games because you couldn't do it. You could only have two games live and then a regional game. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to program football all day long, even if some of it is, is tape delayed. But then there was BYU having their own TV network, and it was a Pac-12, late after dark, before the Pac-12 after dark actually exists. So there were a lot of people who remember the 1984 team, that won the mythical national championship. So there was a lot of people who watched BYU football long before they even knew where BYU was. And so I think that was a big help to them. And I think that you still have some BYU, followers, much like we call them Subway alumni, who've never been there, but they still like to watch and pay attention to them.
College football, CBS and Fox have the Big Ten and the SEC, and there's a lot of talk about Big 12 ratings and are these teams watchable? And even when they get good time slots, when they're not playing in that 8:30 after dark kickoff local time here, which is 10:30 in the East, and obviously people are going to bed, and so a lot of the country doesn't see those games. But when they move them up to like 1:30, they are frequently going against massive games. And I just think people in those parts of the country are going to watch the local/regional team, not the team from the other side of the country. Is there any way to get around that? Are any of the schools out here ever going to be ratings powerhouses? I mean, maybe USC and Oregon, depending on who they're playing?
Yeah, I think that, again, it's brand. It's what it's hopefully it's what they brought Brett your market for, because that's what Brett's a very good promoter of the conference, and I think that will help them. There's very little you can differentiate. It's like, okay, fine, we get an early game, whether it was Colorado a few years ago when Dion just got there. This is going to sound cliche, but winning solves everything. If you got a team in the top 10 and they're playing hot, then there's no reason to believe they aren't going to get ratings. The last couple of years of the Pac-12, their ratings weren't bad at all. And as I say, and that wasn't just USC and UCLA and Oregon. So I do think that there's a place for that, for both. You guys have two outstanding programs in Utah and in BYU. So I think that at the end of the day, we're going to see a lot more of that. But look, guys, we're changing. The whole thing is changing, and that is, it's all going to direct to consumer. For now, you talked about earlier about wanting to watch the home run derby last night and going to Netflix. It's not going to get simpler. Streaming is now a part of what's going on. So if I want to watch Utah play football or I want to watch BYU play football, I'll have that opportunity. I'll pay for that opportunity, but I will have that opportunity.
One of the cool things since we've been here, because we came here a year apart in the 90s from California, is to see, you talk about that brand, the University of Utah, known as a basketball school for many, many years, and to see its brand grow as in football has just been awesome. For me, I've gotten to cover the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, 2 Rose Bowls, and all that. So to see this brand come from where I came from, and it was not much coming from Arizona and California. You didn't know a whole lot about Utah football. Now, it just exploded. It's been rising as well as practically anybody's. What do you think the brand is for Utah as it tries to grow, and maybe whenever there is some form of I don't know, expansion or divide line between, if they ever get to that point where some schools are in the power and some get left out, as far as Utah being on that right side?
I think the key here is, as I said before, coming to Utah and watching sports was phenomenal. Or producing and directing sports are great. I think this is going to sound silly, but you need better PR. I mean, when I tell people what a wonderful time you can have going to a Utah football game, is that the setting is gorgeous, and teams have always been good. So I think it's more of a perception, and you need to really pump more about what Utah is all about. The University of Utah. Not that they don't try, but I don't think they're doing it as well as they perhaps could. Not that they need my opinion on it, but I do think that once you start paying attention to them, it's very much worth your while. Just the same as BYU.
Jim Williams joining us, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. One thing I have heard from people who are way deeper into this than me and know a lot more about it than me is that basketball and hockey here, there isn't that big a risk because they get so much money from their national TV deals. Baseball does not. And so if we get baseball, the local broadcast revenue becomes way more important because it's such a big percentage of the total operation. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's true? Is there a risk with baseball coming here, or do you think it will absolutely succeed when it shows up in Utah?
I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't. And I say this as a fact that it's attendance also makes a lot of difference. You guys know because you were on the cutting edge. Utah basketball and of course the Mammoth took everything on air, over the air broadcast, and that's been nothing but successful for them. So I think that baseball in the state of Utah and Salt Lake City is, in my mind, it's a no-brainer. You've got a phenomenal group of fans in the area, but then again, regionally, you have a lot of fans. And so I would say that, you're right that's a problem everybody's getting in baseball themselves in this new deal that's coming up in 2028. Some of the reasons that they took over all of the Major League Baseball productions, all but a few of them in the regionals left, was because they want to bundle it and package it in a way where they'll get some of that money back. They'll claw it back. It'll take them a while, but they'll get some money back. So to them right now, people coming to the ballgame is the key for a lot of these franchises.
How much do you think TV is going to drive what happens in college football going forward?
A lot less than it used to.
Really?
Yeah, and I say this because what we're seeing right now is the Big Ten and the SEC are getting the lion's share of the money. You were talking a little earlier about Netflix and trying to figure out where the games are going. I think that there's a reset time. Right now, there's a saying here in Washington that basically those who are talking don't know and those who know aren't talking. And I think what we're seeing here is a bunch of universities who want to be in either the SEC or the Big Ten. But they're Tony Petit is somebody I've known and worked with for 30 years. He's not stupid. He's very calculated in what he wants to do. And so I would say that right now, as of today, the Big Ten and the SEC have ideas, and they're running a number of different scenarios. But at the end of the day, I think that we're going to find that college football and college sports will still have a strong place, but we're going to see a lot more streaming of it than we probably ever have, and certainly in the 2030 plus cycle.
The Big Ten looks like it's on the verge, to me, looks like it's on the verge of taking everything over. They've got more money. The SEC doesn't seem to be interested in expanding nationally. They'll add states like Texas and Oklahoma, but they want to stay contiguous is the word they always use, right? Use a state right next door to one they're already in.
Sure.
They're in Arkansas and Louisiana. They'll go to Oklahoma and Texas. They won't go any further. Mm-hmm. The professional leagues that truly are national have 8 teams in 10 Western markets. And it's all a little different. You know, basketball's in Sacramento and baseball's in San Diego. And obviously hockey and basketball are here in Utah. But all of the leagues find a way to get into at least 7 of the 10 markets. So they're a national league so that everybody has a horse in the race. If the Big Ten's going to do it, can they just add Stanford and Cal and be a truly national league? Do they need to be in Denver, Phoenix, Salt Lake City also? What do you think?
No, I don't think they do. I think that they have a strategy, which is they already have 4 brands in the out west that, you know, are, and you can argue that UCLA isn't the brand that they used to be, and that would probably be right. But SC and Oregon and Washington, you know, make a pretty strong Western group. Now, again, this is just me speculating. If they decided to go west, then certainly Utah and Arizona State would probably be their targets out west. I don't think that Stanford and Cal had opportunities to join the Big Ten, and well, more Stanford's situation on Cal, and they chose not to. So I'm not so certain that I wouldn't put my house on it for betting that Utah and Arizona State are going to get the invites if they do expand. But you know, a long shot's better than no shot, right?
Yeah. Well, why'd you select those 2?
Because 2 reasons. 1, the programs are successful. 2, you were talking about Kenny Dillingham earlier.
Yeah.
And Arizona State probably has more. If Arizona State was in the Big Ten, when people would go to the games and Penn State would be out there, Michigan's out there, Ohio State's out there, I'm not sure that there would be more fans in that beautiful stadium down there by the mountain than would be there rooting for the home team. So I think that has to do with it. I think the mountain time zone is always an important thing for for the conferences to have. So you have all 4 time zones. So I think all of that plays into it. And I think that do I know where they're going to expand? No, I have no idea. But if they are going to go west, to me, Utah makes a lot of sense, and so does Arizona State.
Yeah. So many Big Ten alumni in Southern California and in Arizona. They are everywhere. So I totally get that. I'm curious if you believe that these sports leagues can go overseas. Both the NFL and the NBA, they're looking at doing it differently, but they're both going there. With streaming, are they just looking ahead thinking, hey, we're moving beyond the U.S. TV networks and cobbling together networks overseas to go to an Apple or an Amazon or a Netflix and to be in Europe and in North America? Does that make a ton of sense? Are they really ahead of the curve here?
I think with the global brands you just brought up, Apple and Prime specifically, they're not afraid to push the boundaries. And I think that the NFL deal, which by the way is coming up soon, we shall keep an eye out for that. The NFL deal probably is going to add at least 6 to 8 games that are going to be played in Europe. They're finding some traction. But I don't know that it's ever going to be successful in Europe, right? It's like, to me, I liken it to an NFL bowl game. You get to go overseas and hang out and have a good time for a week, and then fly back here and play football. So one of these streamers are going to get that 9:30 slot. Then you've got the 1 o'clock, the 4:30. I'm talking Eastern Coast time, so 1 o'clock, the 4:30, and then of course the nighttime game and Sunday night, and then Monday Night Football. So there's only so many, and Thursday, I forgot that. There's only so many time slots you can fill. But at the end of the day, I do believe what we're seeing is consolidation, guys. I mean, look, we don't know yet whether the the merger between CBS and Sky, Sky Dance is going to come off. But if they do, then everything that's TNT right now goes to CBS, and CBS will take control of it. Just because they consolidate doesn't mean they have more budget. And there's only a certain amount of money that can be spent on TV sports. And right now, I'm looking at what's going to happen with the NFL. They want to be upwards of 150 to 200 billion dollars. To get there, some of these networks are going to have to shed content because you just can't pay all that money for and not have it, mess up the bottom line in another way. So there's a ripple effect here. But college football and college sports will always have a place. I do believe one of the reasons Apple was heavily involved in wanting to get to Pac-12 was because so many of the players in the Olympic sports are actually from overseas, and so it has some sellability. The NBA for sure. I mean, you can't go anywhere in Europe and not see a Steph Curry jersey, a LeBron James jersey. It's what David Stern did. With that process was genius in that regard.
Jim, we'll leave it right there. We appreciate the time, and I know there are a lot of baseball fans in Utah who hope you are right about expansion, that it's not only going to happen, that they will flourish.
Well, if I can, I'll get out there and see you guys, and we'll go to a ball game. Maybe.
All right. Look forward to it.
Hopefully in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it.
Anytime, brother.
All right. Jim Williams, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive.